0, 1. Let's get started.
Welcome to Elevate Life, the leadership insight show from my podcast, Amputate to Elevate Success. I'm John Register, U.S. Army veteran, Paralympic silver medalist, Hall of Fame speaker, and most importantly, a fellow traveler in the leadership journey. I created this video think letter for leaders who are serious about their growth. This isn't lightweight inspiration. It's transformation with a cost. That's why there's a monthly value that is tied to it. Skin in the game matters because what we value, we actually act upon. Now, each week, I bring you the distilled wisdom of a leader. Just 3 areas of focus. No fluff, no noise. You'll hear their insight, and I'll share why it matters in today's world. And then I'll give you one solution, just one how-to that you can act on immediately. Because if you take just one of these each month, by the end of the year, you will have made 12 meaningful changes in your leadership from wherever you start. It could be right now, or it could be a week from today, but you'll make 12 changes. Today's guest is Brandon Hatton, the founder of Conscious Wealth. Brandon believes wealth is more than money. It's health, mindset, and connection. His story reframed how I think about leadership, presence, community, and team design. So let's dive in. Here's the first leadership lever. Let me ask you a tricky question. Who owns more of your attention right now? Who owns more of your purpose or your phone? Brandon Hatton, my guest on Amputate to Elevate Success, made a choice that stopped me in my tracks. Oh my gosh. He decided to amputate his smartphone, not because it wasn't useful, but because it was stealing something greater: his sleep, his memory, his human connection. So listen closely to this insight because it reframed it for me what leadership presence really requires. Here's the thing. We always start this podcast off by asking one simple question, and it takes us down a road, a myriad of discovery. So what is the one thing that you've had to amputate in order to elevate to your success?
So I've been thinking about this question, and I can answer it. We can go into really deep ones and stuff that's on brand and on my book. But the one thing I decided today is I'm going to amputate my smartphone. It's going.
Smartphone's not making us smart.
It's not making me smart. No, I mean, I think, and that sounds kind of pithy, but I think it's something that's very meaningful for me right now is that I did buy just a flip phone. I'm charging it right now. And I just wonder, like, why am I so on call for everyone else? And then why am I in this dopamine cycle of some really wealthy people in Silicon Valley? And they're on their yachts and they're like, oh, he'll click again. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell am I doing with my life? So that's where I'm at this morning. Like, I carry this message of conscious wealth, this idea that wealth is more than money. And there are 4 pillars to it. There's our financial wealth, which everyone knows and they measure, and there's tons that's being spoke of it. But there's 3 other pillars that we speak of, including your physical health, your mindset, and your connections. And when I look at my phone in regards to that, it's disrupting my physical health. It's disrupting my sleep patterns. I see that now. And when it's like, well, how important is sleep? Well, how important is my memory? How important is my ability to wake up in the morning and feel rested, right? And so a big part of my health is being deteriorated by this one, by my relationship with this one device. And so there's that. And then there's also connection, which is really important. Like, what is wealth without connection included? Our family, our friends, the people we know. And there's a real drive as human beings to have connection. But I think maybe I'm fulfilling it too much with a like here or a thumbs up there. I got to get myself out of the house more and just like actually talk to human beings in real life. Or even this, I'm okay with because we're still talking. We may not be in person. I prefer to be in person, but this is still a step up from being a voyeur to somebody else's life.
Brandon realized his phone was keeping him in a dopamine loop designed by tech giants who never intended for leaders like us to thrive. He swapped it for a flip phone, choosing rest over restless scrolling and face to face over connection over digital thumbs up. His point is clear: true wealth is conscious. And if our devices rob us of our health and connection, we're poorer than we actually know. Leaders can't elevate teams if they're too distracted to elevate themselves. So this one hit me personally. Why? Because I'm on my phone all the time. And when I was training for the Paralympics, my recovery was as important as my workouts. Without rest, my body broke down. Yet today, leaders are running marathons on 4 hours of sleep, convinced that they can outpace biology. I've been there too, answering emails at midnight, scrolling social media instead of praying or being present with my family. The truth? The phone became my prosthetic leg for connection. But unlike the one I strap on, this one didn't help me run faster. It slowed me down. When I learned to amputate digital noise, I rediscovered the silence needed to hear God's voice and my family's laughter and my team's unspoken needs. So here's your action. Identify one digital tether you need to amputate this week to reclaim your presence. Maybe it's your phone on the nightstand. Maybe it's answering texts during family dinner. Maybe it's just checking email while your team needs your full attention. Presence is the most expensive gift you can give, and the only one that multiplies. When you reclaim presence, your team breathes easier. They don't just get your strategy, they get your eyes, your attention, your humanity. A rested leader creates rested teams. A present leader creates present teams. The ripple: decisions made in clarity, conversations that build trust, and innovation born not from distraction, but in depth. So let's get ready for leadership lever number 2. Now, too many leaders are chasing answers when the real power lies in the questions. My guest, Brandon Hatton, reminded me of this truth when he talked about the salons he hosts in his living room. Simple gatherings of people, coffee, and croissants. No alcohol, no big production, no endless slides, just questions and conversations. Listen closely to this amazing insight because it challenged me to rethink how leadership spaces should be created. And it also has shifted the way that I am showing up for my clients now. I really don't tell them this, but if I'm able to, I will actually fly out to a meeting and just sit down with the executive, the CEO, to understand more about what he or she is thinking about for a conference that might be coming up. So is this something that you are consciously right now? I know you're doing it for yourself. Are you trying to use your life as an example for others to slow that pace down and begin to have the real conversations in real life?
Well, one of the things we do at Conscious Wealth is that we convene people. And I've always been a convener of people. It feels very comfortable for me to do. And so we're doing this Conscious Wealth Salon. It's 90 minutes. It's once a month in my house, in my living room. We can fit up to 16 people in my living room. It's 30 minutes of grab coffee and a croissant. That's all. Those are your choices. Coffee and croissant. We're not, it's like, how simple can we make this? 30 minutes, we have a speaker, and then 30 minutes of talking about that subject. And we frame this around a question, right? The questions in life are really important. So many times people have, hey, come to this event, I'm going to give you the answers. Jared, I don't know the answers, right? But I know the questions. And so let's frame the questions, get people together talking. And what I like about it as well, not only that it's in a house, which I think is important, people to be in a living space, but it's also that it's not around alcohol. It's my other favorite drug, caffeine, right? Which all in all is of the less harmful. So that's one way that we're doing it. And then the topics that we talk about are along these 4 pillars that I just spoke of, right? How can I be more wealthier? Understanding that wealth is not just money. It's these other 3 pillars. And what can I learn from experts? And it's all in person.
Yeah. Brandon said it all. He doesn't know all the answers, but he knows the power of a good question. By bringing 16 people together each month to wrestle with one of these questions tied to his 4 pillars of conscious wealth, he creates community. Leaders today are drowning in events that hand out solutions, but what changes lives are spaces where we can sit down, slow down, and discover wisdom together. So that really resonated with me because when I came home from the hospital after my amputation, what saved me wasn't just the doctors, it was my community, friends, families, teammates, uh, others who showed up, fraternity brothers who showed up and who asked me hard questions and who created space for me to process. In business and in leadership, I've seen the same truth. Transformation rarely happens in the spotlight, it happens in the living rooms, the small tables, the unhurried conversations where people feel safe to be real. And that's why I've started to look at my own executive strategy sessions, not just as teaching moments, but as spaces for collective discovery. That's why we want everybody to engage with each other. Because leadership isn't about having all the answers, it's about curating the right conversations. So here's an action for consideration. Create a space for genuine dialogue, not just download. Where can you insert a salon type discussion, not for answers, but to ask more questions? If leadership in your world is a steady stream of presentations and reports, maybe it's time to host a conversation instead. Questions spark growth, answers often end the discussion. When leaders convene instead of dictate, teams come alive. They don't just feel heard, they feel valued. And when people feel valued, they invest deeper, collaborate harder, and innovate more freely. Convening shifts culture from compliance to contribution, and that ripple starts in something as simple as a living room. All right, are you ready for elevation number 3? Have you ever tried to hire someone who acted like you? I know it's so tempting to hire people who think like us or act like us or even look like us. It feels safe. But Brandon Hatton reminded me that safety often kills creativity. In our conversation, he explained how he intentionally hires across different archetypes, musicians, runners, executives with radical different paths, because sameness might look efficient, but it will not create music. Here's how he reframed the art and science of building teams. And it seems that you have found in the zone of genius, the folks that have come aboard with you, and I know you just find they just show up, and you maybe run them through the four quadrants there. But it seems that a lot of folks just can't find that these days. So I don't know if you can go a little bit deeper into what that really means of the identification of that person, or do you have them on your team already? And how do you pull that out?
Yeah.
I just think there's so many people that they just don't have that right now.
Yeah. Well, look, it's not easy, and we've waited a long time to get people, and hiring is an art and a science. But I will say we're going through another. I was just on a phone call with one of my teammates. I'm having lunch with him tomorrow, and we're going over his KPIs. And I said, I want you to think of your archetype. And he knew what it was, more or less. And I said, good. What I want this to guide you. It shouldn't limit you. And we're a small enough company, and we're small enough, like, even if we're a really big company, every leadership team is small, right? Or small enough where you say, carve out the space for yourself, right? And so as we've been adding people, we've been lucky enough maybe just to be adding well, let me say another way. I don't hire 2 of the same people. Yeah. And a lot of people will look at my leadership team on a photo and be like, y'all look the same. Maybe, but we're not the same. We've had different experiences. We've had different upbringings than we may look like in the photo. And so I have one who was a professional musician at one time. I've got a professional runner on my team. And another guy who's got a lot to bring to the table too. And there's more, but I'm just mentioning 3. So by bringing different people together, you make music, right? You make art. If you just bring everyone on like yourself because that's comfortable, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
Now, Brandon shared that every leadership team is small enough to carve space for difference. Instead of stacking his team with duplicates, he brings together people with unique archetypes and life experiences. He knows leadership isn't about building an echo chamber, it's about building a symphony. And in today's fast changing world, sameness is fragile, but diversity is resilient. I've lived this lesson. On the Army track and field team, and later with the United States Paralympic track and field and swim team, I saw firsthand that talent wasn't enough. You needed variety. Sprinters trained differently than distance runners. Jumpers needed a different rhythm than hurdlers. When those differences collided, we didn't compete, we complemented each other. The same is true in business. Early in my career, I made some mistakes of surrounding myself with people who thought like me. It was comfortable, but it wasn't fruitful. Growth began when I invited other people into the conversation, other people into the room who challenged my assumptions. Leaders don't need more mirrors, they need more windows into perspectives that they don't see. So here is a suggested action step. Look at your team to see if your team looks different but thinks the same. Or does it genuinely bring diverse archetypes to the table? Innovation is born with intention, not in agreement. So if your team is too comfortable, it might not be creative. Have a session to understand people's differences and not their likenesses. When leaders hire across archetypes, teams gain resilience. A musician brings rhythm, a runner brings discipline, and an analyst brings clarity, a dreamer brings vision. Together, they create art out of complexity. This isn't about optics, it's about output. A diverse team isn't just stronger for today's challenges, it's more adaptable for tomorrow's unknowns. So let's get ready to close out. Hey, if today's insight stirred something in you, imagine what they can ignite in your entire organization. I don't just speak, I activate transformation. In keynotes, executive strategy sessions, breakout sessions, at conferences, I challenge leaders to amputate what holds them back and elevate what moves them forward. My sessions spark creativity, fuel resilience, and create cultures that perform under pressure. And if I'm not the right voice for your event, I'll connect you with one of the powerful leaders in my network to make sure your stage creates lasting impact. To book me for your next event, just go to johnregister.com. That's JOHNREGISTER, johnregister.com. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Oh my goodness, we walked through 3 powerful leadership levers from Brandon Hatton. Now, each one calls us to amputate comfort and elevate into conscious leadership. First, we saw the courage it takes to amputate the smartphone, reclaiming presence from distraction. The how-to is simple, but not easy. Practice a weekly phone fast to reset your focus. Second, we leaned into the power of convening. Brandon showed us that transformation happens in living rooms, not boardrooms, when leaders trade answers for better questions. Your how-to here? Host one intentional conversation this month. Just a handful of people, one question, see what unfolds. Third, we challenge the urge to hire our clones. Brandon hires across archetypes, building teams that create music, not monotony. Your how-to is to map your own team's archetypes and identify one missing voice. Then go find it. If you did only one of these 3 things, one per month, you'd look back at the end of the year and see 12 leadership shifts. Imagine the compounding effect of that. So I encourage you to go back, replay the clips, and choose one lever to put into practice this week. Then tell a friend. Share this think letter with your team. Start a group discussion. Leadership does not multiply in isolation. It grows in community. Next week, we'll be continuing elevating with another leader's insight that will challenge you to amputate what's comfortable and step into what's possible. And remember, you can catch past episodes and dive deeper by joining the Elevate Life Executive Experience. This is where we put these insights into practice together. So go forth, inspire your world. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.